Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello guys and welcome to the stream. This is coverage of the Apex Online Racing Season 17 evaluation race, AOR Hype. We're racing at Spa today for the second of 4 evaluation races on the PC platform. I'm joined in the commentary box today by my pal Cozzie.
Good evening everyone, looking forward to this race.
So yeah, it should be an exciting race today. A lot of new drivers of course featuring in this race is the purpose of evaluation races. To see which drivers have potential to race in higher splits now or in the future, and I'm looking forward to seeing what drivers can start today. Of course, being Spa is a race which focuses a lot and emphasises a lot on straight line speed and slipstream with a lot of long straights such as Kemmel, but there's also tricky corners such as Pawn on there, so we'll be keeping the drivers on toes throughout tonight.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see a bit of taste of what's to come in this season 17 of AOR. Feels like an olden age. 17 seasons on this F1 platforms, still going as strong as ever, and we should be seeing 19 drivers to tonight's race. Bit of a bunch up in split qualities. Obviously, we might see some qualities towards the higher tiers like F1 or maybe even F2. I might be seeing some drivers based towards the lower tiers, but regardless, this evaluation race isn't about the racing, it's about being consistent, showing the moderators and all the coordinators that put countless amount of hours into organising the splits for each and every season. Show them what you have to offer and get the highest split as possible.
Yep, essentially this race serves as pre-season, so it's not going to be something that we're going to... Maybe we're not going to see the hardest racing from all the drivers out there. We'll see a disparity in driving pace, if you will, between some of the drivers. But hopefully we'll have a fun show put on regardless, as we're just entering the qualifying session now.
Yep, clear skies here in sunny Belgium, and as I said, 19 drivers about to attack what is my favourite circuit on the F1 calendar, and I'm sure it is up there for you, James, as well. Spa, there's a lot of places to overtake here. There's a lot of chances for drivers to make mistakes as well. There's such challenging corners. Rouge and Rarion, the tricky chicane of the Com coming after that Kemmel straight, which will probably be the main source of overtaking. And obviously Pouon, a lot of challenging corners. The longest circuit on this F1 calendar, 7 kilometers long, with 19 circuits, and all the drivers are about to come out for their first flying laps here in this qualifying session.
Yep, this is of course the longest track on the calendar. Race will only be 22 laps long. But we're seeing now first cars exit. Currently on board with Zerd, Eli, all leaving the pits for their first time to get a sighter lap around this track. Yeah, it should be an exciting race, and we'll see what these drivers have on offer as their opening gambit in this qualifying session is they're about to show their hand.
Yeah. As for the drivers we need to look out for, well, we're not really too sure, to be honest. Most of the drivers are new, which is great to see some new faces and some familiar ones as well. Some drivers returning after being absent from maybe 1 or 2 previous seasons. They're back for season 17. There's only 10 races in season 17, Spa being one of them. One of, if not the shortest calendar on the AOR season, such as the June 28th release date of F1 2019, about 2 months earlier to what we've expected, which has kind of put the coordinators at risk. But yeah, 10 races in this season, and there's going to be a bit of a prelude to a taste to come of this season with 19 drivers here in this qualifying session, and yeah, we'll be looking forward to hopefully get a taste of what's to come in season 17.
Yeah, as you said, a 10-round calendar is extremely short to what we've ever come to think of an AOR season in the previous years. 17th season, and it's most definitely the shortest at only 10 rounds, and this being one of them, it could be important to see the drivers get their pre-season knowledge in, if you will, of how this track handles, what strategy to run, because it's 25 points available on what is only 250 points maximum you can accumulate for the season. So that's something interesting to bear in mind as we now see the drivers starting their laps. Who's currently riding the board with Mark. There's a bit of a shenanigans going on with a Sauber there crossing the chicane, but as we ride the board with VP Coldo, just call him Mark, we'll ignore that. VP Coldo going into turn 1 La Source, braking late, making sure to hit the apex. A bit of a lock up, but getting the power down now as you head about to go up the hill through our Rouge Radion. It's 7th gear now, and this is one of the staple quintessential corners in Formula 1. Revving out 7th gear now up to 8, about to open DRS, as this is one of the highest speed sections on the entire Formula 1 calendar, hitting 212 miles an hour as you go onto the brakes for the chicane. This kink is very difficult to take flat. But as you head into the very understeery hairpin and through the no-name section, just coming up, make sure to use all of the track. Coldo really attacking it. That might be in the track invalidation, as used all of the exit curb as you head into one of the highest speed, most challenging corners. And Coldo's just proved why it's considered one of the most challenging. That was quite wide there from the Renault driver. So now head into the Fanier chicane, getting towards the end of the middle sector now, one of the most technical parts of the track. But as you now head out, very wide through that section, but as you now head out into a series of kinks that lead to one of the high-speed areas of the track in the legendary Blanchemont. Getting up to 200 miles an hour, seeing the first time of the session set by the Williams driver of Vidox. And now Wout Damon. So heading through Blanchemont now, and then into the bus stop chicane, breaking around the 100-meter mark. Find your marker, put it in, get the change of direction nailed, and then out of the corner. That is a lap of Spa. And what time is it going to be for Mark? It's going to be provisional pole on a 41.8, but for sure he'll be looking to improve on that running later into the session.
Yeah, very good lap from the German driver, Werrick. WC Rick, is that how you pronounce it? He's slotted himself onto the front row alongside the Renault. So all the times are filtering in. We've got 8 drivers currently with a lap time set. Zerd actually bailed into the pits on his flying lap, so maybe he was unhappy with maybe the traffic got in his way or somewhat. But I'm on board with Panda Cruiser now, coming down towards Butchmont in his Force India. Pretty sure he is returned as many from the successful season 16 in the Force India, attacking this circuit, breaking in towards the final chicane. Without a lap time at the moment, we're looking to promote himself a few places up the order considerably, down towards the line now, and it is 7th place. It's currently alongside Mantis on that 4th row, 2 Force Indias, 7th and 8th at the moment. There's a standout timer really, Falcon in the Mercedes of 1:43, the only man, only man of 2, Maestro is also on the soft compound tyres. Yeah, the strategy will be a big element, as it will always be in this season. I think a one-stop strategy might be predicted, the super soft onto the medium tyres, but obviously those two guys might have other thoughts.
Yeah, the main considered strategy for this track being relatively low degradation is the super soft medium option, though you'll be likely to see people starting outside the top 10 to try starting on the soft tyres and maybe going to the mediums later in the race, or if you're feeling really aggressive, strapping on a set of supers, but that will be very challenging to get to the end of the race if you choose that style of strategy. But who can we ride above on? Who's on lap? I believe Misto2329 is currently running on a set of soft tyres in the McLaren. Current lap time is a 45.2. Will be interesting to see if there's a second lap on the tyres. It is notoriously difficult to get the middle compound of tyre to warm up on this game, so they could be seeing if this is the second lap of the stint or not. Judging whether he ducks into the pits here. Seems pretty committed through the last chicane, but no, he's coming into the pits. Bit of an anticlimax there, but I think most of the drivers now returning from their first run, and we'll have a bit of a drought of on-track action for the moment.
Does come out once again. This might be the sole runner, as everyone's darted into the pits to get some new rubber on and attack again for second of potential 3 runs here. It is a long track, but you can still fit in 3 runs on this circuit with an 18-minute qualifying session. Zerda's going to start his flying up just about gets into the final corner before that Force India bails into the pits of probably Panda Cruiser. But Zerd now coming down towards turn 1. You know, he did win this race in his respective PCF 4 split last season from 16th on the grid, currently in the last position. I think that was Swiss Superman in the Toro Rosso to promote himself up alongside Calder, still 6/10 off in his Toro Rosso with a 1:42.4. Still second place is not a bad start to not a bad place to start the race, I should say. But Zerd is now making his way in towards the Lacombe chicane. Nice and neat through here. Don't get too aggressive on the throttle coming out of turn 7 and now into this very tricky. He blocks up into turns 8 there. Now getting back on the power once again for the left-hander. Very tricky wide line he takes through here. And now down towards the, if not the most challenging corner on the F1 calendar. Out of P1 again, he runs wide. Might be the line drivers might want to take through there. Now Zerd heading into the chicane of Campus. Through 13 and through 14. Didn't take as much speed as Coldo did on that lap. But still heading down towards Stabilo. Didn't run as wide as the Renault driver, which might set himself up nicely to carry maybe a little bit more speed down this straight, heading down towards Blanchemont in overtake ERS mode as there's yellow flag somewhere in Sector 2, assuming that's for someone making their way through traffic. Now heading down towards the final chicane for the McLaren driver. In towards the right-hander and then the left-hander of the final corner, getting back on the power, a little bit of oversteer on exit, heading down towards the line, and it is pole position. It's a 1:41.7, only a 10th.5 clear of Caldwell. It's looking very nicely congested at the top for this qualifying session.
Yep, I was going to say, looking at Zerd's lap, looked pretty tidy. More tidy than Coldo, I believe, who seemed to run wide on a few exits. A bit of oversteer coming out the last corner from Zerd, but other than that, seemed pretty mistakeless, if maybe perhaps a bit conservative lap from the McLaren driver. Seems to be going on to a lap, I believe. WCR Rick could be going on to start a lap now, so it could be worth riding a ball with him in the Mercedes. Currently in 4th, very decent position to be starting, and of the unestablished drivers, this puts him technically on the front row as Coldo and Zerd are looking to establish themselves as split 2 or perhaps even split 1 drivers for the upcoming season. So he opens DRS now, clearly pushing down the Kemmel straight. Onto the brakes now, taking the curb. Curbs on this game, in comparison to F1 2017, for example, have been massively increased in difficulty to run over, which makes corners like that one a greater challenge than ever. But he seems to be able to negotiate it, running a bit wide there, but using now all the track, maybe a little bit more to come through there. Having to negotiate a bit of traffic on this lap, the Mercedes driver, but hopefully he'll be able to negate any time loss, running a bit wide through P1, having to shift down to 6th gear, when we've seen a lot of drivers tackle it in 7th so far this quali session. That's how gets out the way, but that chicane looks a bit more messy from WCR Rick, and maybe this is a lap to forget.
Yeah, he's gone down to 0 overtake in ERS, so he's clearly bailed on that lap. One man who hasn't bailed on this lap though, Coldo, making his way through the chicane of Campus once again. A little bit more neater for the Renault. Can he nail this Stabilo corner? He didn't nail it last time. That's a much better line through that corner, which might have gained himself a 10th or 2, which is all he needs to dislodge Zerd from the provisional top spot in the Renault, making his way through Blanchemont. Pretty hard to lose time through here. It's flat out all the way through. Now down towards final chicane. Once again, he has to nail this. The last thing you want to do is ruin your lap where it matters the most. In the final 2 corners, up towards the line now. He was in 2nd. Is it good enough for pole position? It is, and it's very close. He only gained a 10th.5, but it's still 28 hundredths ahead of Zerd. It's getting so close between the top 2, and Zerd will definitely look to challenge that top spot back.
Yeah, it really looks like perhaps a bit more of an isolated duel between these two for the fight for pole position, but what a show they've put on so far, trading times at the top. Now for the 3rd time this session, and still with 1 run to go. Free the driver. That seems to be the case for most drivers now. Not many of them are currently on flying laps. The one who is the Haas of Ika, I believe that is. I caught him through that last chicane, have a lot of oversteer, but he's put his Haas up to 12th place now on a 1:43.0. But a lot of drivers now heading into the pits. Panda Cruiser, I believe on the lap. Sven is in the Force India, approaching the chicane near the end of the middle sector. One's a bit wide on that apex, seemingly, but hopefully he'll be able to improve his position of 14th right now. Maybe get his way into the top 10 on a 143.2 as of right now, but again, approaching the section of the track where you really want to be mashing that throttle pedal as hard as you can, over 200 miles an hour, 8th gear. Challenging as ever through Blanchimont. You don't want to back out of that one, but now flying down into the slowest part of the track, the chicane of Bus Stop, and then getting the power down now for the exit. Where will this time put Sven? Opening DRS, and he's only progressed to 13th, so perhaps not quite the lap he was expecting to pull out of the bag, but still one more run to go for the Force India driver. Hopefully he'll improve on his position.
See, what I'm interested in is how close it is between 3rd and 8th. Not even a 10th separating 3rd from 8th position. That's 6 whole positions separated by less than 10th. And the Mantis in 9th, only 2 tenths behind that. And he's very close behind with the Red Bull of Heiko. It's very close in the midfield, a few seconds separate. It's 5.4 seconds is running. He's making his way into the final corner in his Red Bull. On the soft tyres, interestingly, we're looking to get into the top 10, but he's quite a fair ways off. 145.7 didn't really help his causes there, but he's trotting along in his Red Bull in the soft compound tyres, the sole runner of the soft compound tyres. Super Softs look to be the tyre that everyone wants to start, well, especially in the top 10, start the race on. And yeah, only 4 minutes to go this qualifying session. Half of the drivers are in the pits and half of them are on their laps. Zerd once again on his flying lap. He's got the Red Bull to deal with coming down the Kemmel straight, but that's the perfect situation to have someone, traffic, get past. Yeah, Zerd making his way through the chicane once again. Once again looking tidy as ever. For the man looking to maybe get that pole position, it might be something he wants to get. Being on pole at Spa is probably a disadvantage in some cases because the amount of slipstream you get down the Kemmel straight, we can see it in real life and in AOR as well, how effective the slipstream is coming down the Kemmel straight. So maybe getting pole is a bit of a disadvantage. So second place might be the ideal place to start, but Zerd really wants to impress everyone and beat an F2 driver, considering he was in F4 last season. That'll be a statement and a half from the McLaren, but this lap looked pretty decent so far. Don't know if it'll be worth an improvement, considering that 141.7 was pretty decent in itself, but he's still making his way into the final corner. He comes now hard on the brakes, turning into the right, then the left of Butts. I think he spun there. I don't think that was intentional from Zerd. Got a bit too eager on the throttle, and it's caused him to. He's spun again, and this is not very ideal considering there's only 2.5 minutes left on the board, and considering Spa is about 2 minutes long after the pit lane. He might be very, very tight. He's actually retired from the session, so I don't think he. Yeah, I don't think there's enough time for him to get back out and set another lap time. So he's done for qualifying, and he's not going to start on pole. Second at best.
Yeah, we've mentioned this before. Going through the last chicane is the last place you want to make a mistake, and it's deceivingly challenging despite being considered a bit more of a Mickey Mouse section on a rather more high-speed, generally style of layout here in Spa-Francorchamps. But it can be quite easy to get on the power that little bit too early, particularly for the bit in between connecting the two corners, if you will. And that seems to be what's happened to the Zerd in that case, and it's cost him a run at pole position. Talking of a run of pole position, Coldo now is approaching the end of his outlap, getting ready to warm up for one last shot at a lap time that will see him start from the very front here in Spa.
The two Mercedes are Falcon and WCR Rick have added themselves into the equation, potentially a pole position, but I think both of them are on in laps. So actually no, Falcon is on his out lap. I think Rick has just set his lap time and will come into the pits in due course. But yeah, Falcon, very interesting. He's only a 1/10.5 behind Coldo in the battle for pole position. It's pretty much between these two, and Falcon, there's probably a time to make up 1.5 tenths is definitely something he can achieve. But once again, you can see the exact same thing about Coldo. There are a few scrubbly sections on his lap, so he'll be looking to justify those and extend his advantage at the top in this qualifying session, which is only got 45 seconds to go until the checkered flag falls. Again, more yellow flags in Sector 3. That's probably someone letting another driver on a quick lap through. Yeah, everyone's pretty much starting their final flying laps. If you haven't started now, then it's all she wrote for qualifying for their respective driver. Eli's just coming through turn 1 in one of the Renaults. The other Renault, Kodo, flying through Puon very wide. That's probably the widest I've seen. Oh, look at that Superman! That's a super lap, no pun intended. Comes up, pole position, 12 thousandths separating the Toro Rosso and the Renault. Can Coldo respond now coming towards the end of his lap, entering Sector 3 now? Pretty decent so far for the Renault, but there's still 2 more corners to break for, to negotiate, really. So there's still time to be lost, time to be gained. Is it good enough? Is this lap going to be good enough for a pole position? It's not really going to mean much in terms of stats, but it's still going to be good for evaluating after this race for the placements. Up towards the line now for Mark, and he doesn't. We did, but I think the lap got invalidated. So 41.6 flat. Yeah, that would have been good enough for pole, but I think he got his lap invalidated somewhere, probably on the exit of Puon, because that was so wide through there.
Yeah, I think earlier in the session we were expecting a bit more of a washout. Seeing how clear Coldo and Zerd were in the early parts, but to see Swiss Superman jump straight up the order with that time, pretty much out of nowhere, and maybe even now seeing the Mercedes of Falcon Felix coming through his lap now, approaching the last sector where it's all won or lost, potentially rob the 2 favourites for this race, you would definitely say, of starting right at the front where they expect to be.
Yeah, Falcon looks pretty decent so far. Again, only a 10th.5 pole position, so he can easily snatch it at the last gasp. He's pretty much the only driver, apart from himself and Eco, that have yet to finish their qualifying session. He's left it to the last moment. Can he produce a surprise at the end of this qualifying session? Up towards the line now, and he only improves by 3 thousandths of a second, and it's not going to be good enough to improve on his time. What about Eco in 16th place at the moment? He jumps up into 4th position. Yeah, Superman is the last driver. I think he's done for qualifying yet. He's bailing into the pits. And there we go then. He is on pole position for this evaluation race. It's just something I didn't expect because he's a new name, but it's nice to see a fresh face up there fighting the likes of Coldo, who was in PTF2 last season. So he's produced a statement and a half, out qualifying a split 2 drive, which is an achievement in itself, quite frankly.
Yeah, I know as Mark's teammate, or Coldo's teammate from last season in AOR, on a lap, particularly at this track, he can be quite a devastating rival to try and beat, but Swiss Superman's done that today with a 141.6, perhaps a little bit slower than we were expecting going into the session, but regardless he'll be delighted with that. And a very close session right to the top there, with the top 3, the longest track on the calendar, may I remind you, separated by 400, and then just a couple of tenths to the 2 guys behind them as well in the Mercedes. So I'll let Cozzie run you through the order now for the starting grid for this race in a minute, because the session's about to progress, so you won't be able to read it in that time, but looking forward to this race anyway.
Yeah, Zerd said he was 5 tenths up and then his lap got invalidated. So he does have the potential, he did have the potential, but he just couldn't filter that into a lap time, which is so crucial. You could have all the pace in the world, but if you make that one crucial mistake, you will be left to dread that. And Zerd has definitely had to do that, but still starting 3rd is no slouch in the McLaren, so he's got good pace and good potential to maybe win this race. But yeah, clear skies here for the race. We should be seeing a 1-stop strategy, maybe even 2 if people are feeling ambitious. The safety car is enabled, so we could see Bernd Maylander get his safety car out if there is an incident, but I don't think there will be, considering there's no damage in these evaluation races, which does not mean contact is allowed, obviously. It's just so every driver can actually finish the race, because people might be wanting to maybe end their race if they got damaged, which is so frustrating. But thankfully there's no damage in this race as the formation lap starts, and it'll be interesting to see what tyres everyone outside the top 10 has gone for. Yeah, everyone apart from Raining Thunder, who has just been disqualified off the grid, everyone in outside the top 10 apart from him are on the soft compound of tyres, so expect those to, well, I think Mantis especially in 11th position. He's probably in the best position on the soft compound tyres. If he can make those work, he could be fighting the guys at the top, or maybe even certainly for the higher points paying positions at the end if he makes his strategy work.
Yeah. So now start the, well, we're reaching the midpoint of the formation lap now. Of course, the stage of the race where every driver is going to be trying their hardest to warm up their tyres, get them into the correct operating window for the start here. Though a run into turn 1 is not always the most vital thing in the world, considering the massive slipstream fest that will follow it. However, you want to be in the correct position to avoid any potential mayhem that may occur, such as what we saw in real life in 2012, when Grosjean and Hamilton and Alonso were involved in a massive pile-up that involved the Saubers as well. And although damage is off for this race, you certainly don't want to be involved in any unnecessary tangles that might compromise your flow and rhythm to the way you drive. But now we're approaching roughly near to the end of the formation lap now. Seems like a pretty regular pace held by Swiss Superman. Perhaps a bit faster than we're expecting, making sure all the drivers have sufficient temperature in their tyres. But the race start is soon to unfold.
Yeah, and you know, 22 laps ahead of us. It can all be won or lost from here on in Swiss Superman. I do not expect this name to pop up on pole position, but you know, it's nice to see someone who
Cozzie, I'd like to butt in and say that you're lagging quite a bit. It's been fine up to this point, but you started lagging like massively for me just then, so that's really awkward right at the start of the race. But ignore the technical fallacies that are occurring right now, because we're getting ready for the 5 red lights here in Spa. Hopefully Cozzie's internet can get himself sorted out, but I'll bring you through the opening chapter of this race, if you will. Wait for all the drivers to line up. Here we go for the 5 red lights here in Spa. My HUD has turned off, and it's back again. And away we go. Torres on pole. Torres in the lead, not for much longer. Coldo flies through into the lead now, entering La Source. Getting this through turn 1, and there goes Coldo up into the lead. Ahead of Swiss Superman. This is a great camera view. There we go. And cars now flying up towards Arouge Radion. Cars going too wide. They're definitely going to want to back out before they go through here. But now comes the slipstream fest. Will Coldo be able to defend his lead against the charging horde of pack? Yellow flag in sector 1. There seems to be a spinner. Maybe it's the other McLaren of Misto. But the other McLaren of Zerd is now looking to make it 3 wide. There's contact heading into the chicane. Torosso and Renault side by side. Swiss Superman looking to defend his lead. He gained in that straight on the opening lap, but they're now continually side by side. Coldo seems to have taken the place, and fair play to him as well, defending that position as they now all slot into a relatively more formal order. Seems to have been some unfortunate incidents for the likes of Vidox and Misto on that opening lap, but otherwise it seemed pretty routine. And yeah, the Williams has unfortunately fallen back, and so seems to have the McLaren, but we'll focus back on the lead battle now, as Coldo seems to be cementing a consistent rhythm in his race, hopefully to pull away from Swiss Superman now.
I think I'm back. Sorry for that unfortunate lag moment, but yeah, nice start from the front 3. Oh, I think the Mercedes of Rick nearly loses it coming out of Stabilo. Yeah, Coldo did the job he needed to take the lead at turn 1 and kept it down the Kemmel straight. Great defending, because look, there's Zerch trying to go round the outside of Bolonchi, man. That's not somewhere you expect. We saw Max Verstappen doing it. He's trying to go round the outside of the bus stop, but he breaks a bit too late and has to concede that position, and Superman keeps hold of that second place as Misto spun once again in the McLaren coming out of Stabilo 2. So his race has really gone down the toilet, quite frankly, as lap 2 commences and Zerd and Superman is still squabbling for that second position. Zerd can't quite get past. But when DRS does get enabled on the next lap, the Kemmel straight will really come into effect, and we're seeing a lot of moves coming of over pressure. Downward.
Sorry for the connection issues that are occurring. We're seeing passes up and down the field, but I'd like to focus on the battle for second right now. Zerd seems to have more pace than Swiss Superman right now in this moment, and we're looking forward to making a move in the upcoming laps. To chase down, pursue Coldo, who seems to be pulling a bit now. There seems to be an incident with Raining Thunder dropping positions. But yeah, they all seem to have tucked into a nice battle now. A train that have just exited Puon in the battle for 7. There's a lot of positions going on up and down the order. Time to focus back on Zerd and Superman as he looks to get the move stick in his pursuit of Coldo in this race. But Swiss Superman's got his act together a bit more in this middle sector. Perhaps he's running slightly higher wings than his opposition, but we could be seeing an overtake from Zerd in the coming moments. Seen a penalty, first penalty of the race, and a surprisingly early one at that on lap 2. Wout Damon has incurred multiple warnings. Accumulation already inside just 3 minutes of this Grand Prix starting. That's an impressive feat if I've ever seen one. Zerd running a bit deep into Telmont, but wanting now to get the good exit. He seems to be a long way back from Swiss Superman now. But maybe he won't be able to get this move pulled off. Seeing more positions changing throughout the order. Raining Thunder and Wout Damon battling. He nearly loses it. Jeez, in the Ferrari, nearly losing it up through Arouge Radion. Not a place you want to be losing it, of course. It's fly into the walls. But race seems to be stabilising a bit now after that carnage first lap. But there's Force India inter-team battling. Panda Cruiser and Mantis side by side into that corner. But Panda Cruiser seems to have taken the place. More battling going on behind that, but I'd like to focus on Zerd and Superman as they fight over second place continually. Is Cozzie alive yet? Okay, I guess Cozzie's still dead. I guess I'll just be going solo for a while until that's sorted, but Torosso runs a bit wide, using of course all of the track and a little bit more if I do say so myself. But Zerd wanting to get close enough Torosso to probably whore out the slipstream and get an overtake pulled off. Maybe you don't want to overtake here. Very risky part of the track to try something into Blanchemont. Zerd is sensible enough not to do so. But then into the bus stop, is he going to go for a late lunge? Zerd is sensible enough to realise that's not going to be pulled off. Trying to get the exit now. DRS deployed. Obviously, drag reduction system gives you a greater straight line speed. Assisted, of course, alongside the slipstream effect, which will help him gain time on the massive straight that's coming up. Swiss Superman dropped firmly out of the DRS and slipstream range of Coldo, who's making a bit of a runner for it at this stage, and Zerd will definitely be getting impatient in that McLaren cockpit of his. Cozzie's internet is having fun. Hayden wants an invite. I guess I'll invite him in a minute, but ignoring the teething issues that are being incurred right now, Zerd has taken the place now. That's a crucial move in the stanza of his race, in the context of his race now, to have cleared the Torosso and hopefully be able to break the slipstream very quickly for him. So seeing now position changes down the order, but I'd like to focus on the lead battle more so at this stage. Force Indias and Ferraris going to battle. Panda Cruiser, Raining Thunder, Mantis Rectum, Line and Stirred at this stage of the Grand Prix. I'll give Hayden an invite now if he wants to. I can't invite him, being a commentator, can I? That's an F. Cozzie, Cozzie, if you can hear me, then invite Hayden. I think. Oh, I need to invite him to DM as well. Cozzie, you try and sort this. Raining Thunder's got himself a multiple warnings penalty only on lap 4 of this Grand Prix, and Zerd has pulled 9 tenths now to Swiss Superman. Seeing Torosso driver struggling a bit more at this stage of the Grand Prix in comparison to qualifying. But there seems to be a Mercedes battle brewing in the offing. Nearly line and stern side by side through the bus stop. It's now approach the pit straight, one of the shorter straights on this track, and definitely not an overtaking position with WCR Rick. So we've seen our first driver pull into the pits of Heiko now in the Red Bull. Very optimistic undercut that he's taken there, but bit of a lag spike. Lots of lagging going for WCR Rick there, just as he was looking to make a move stick. And Zerd is gone. Zerd has spun or something. That's a very odd position to be in. Car's parked on the exit of Radion on the curb. Seems to be clearing his way very comfortably out of the way. All the cars passing, that's dropped him right to the back of the field now. He's having carcass issues. Trying to get back onto the track. Doing a, I'm sure not deliberate donut, but still a donut nonetheless. And not really sure what's going on, but he's back and joined by his McLaren friend. Clearly felt sorry for him. And Zerd has retired, unfortunately, and left the session. Of course, having never done, or having done the previous season, not vital for him to complete one of these races, but it is unfortunate to see one of the main competitors for Coldo taken out from this race for unbeknown reasons. He might have faced issues to spin into a position like that. But, Coldo with a 3.3 second lead and looking pretty unchallenged at this stanza of the Grand Prix, even if he didn't take pole position. But race seems to have stabilised a little bit now. Clearly hasn't stabilised for Vidox. He's suffered a spin at the notorious pull-on high-speed corner on his soft tyres. That's going to have dropped him a lot, and seems to be struggling a bit right there right now. So Eli is losing places to Ico. Pit stops are now coming out in full force. Should have been expecting this around this stage of the Grand Prix. We're going to see people like Panda Cruiser jump straight up the field as all the super soft runners starting inside the top 10 have bailed on their set of tyres. Perhaps expected to last a bit longer than lap 5, and it might be a bit of a task to get the mediums to the end from here. So interesting to see Raining Thunder pitting onto the soft compound of tyres. He's trying either a 2-stop or a not hardly neat pit exit there. He's trying either very intense 1-stop strategy or a 2-stop strategy. But it seems most drivers have pitted onto the mediums, though Heiko has not. Heiko's also opting for that 2-stop strategy. If you can make it work, the race time in theory is relatively similar to the 1-stop, so we should see how this unfolds, but it will require a lot of overtaking and something I'm definitely looking forward to watching during this Grand Prix. How those guys' races unfold, battling through the traffic in later stages. Cordo still leads the field by 8.6 seconds now, as his rivals have pit earlier for him, gone for the undercut, but though I doubt anyone will be passing him from the strategic advantage. Is Cozzie alive yet? Doesn't seem very alive. I hope I'm not going solo for the next 16 laps, but unfortunately I might be. But Coldo's doing a bit of Tokyo drift there through the chicane. His tyres are absolute mincemeat, and he's going to want to pit off them as soon as possible. And there he is in the pits. Now side by side out of Blanchimont. I'm disappointed I missed this. Lumpus and Ronin 1978, both on the soft compound of tyre, going to duel here in Spa-Francorchamps. Gone for the switchback as the Red Bull. Seems to be a bit of a train from between these guys. Absolutely line and stern, fighting over every inch of the racetrack into Turn 1. Red Bull's going to try and shut the door through Turn 1, and he's got the better exit, and Ronin will maintain the place for now. However, what does that mean? As we get a nice view from the Haas on board of what will be an absolutely carnage Kemmel straight. Big twitch through there as he suffers another multiple warnings penalty. Not the first we've seen from drivers this Grand Prix, but they're going to be 3 wide into infamous Lacombe. Bit of contact there from Swiss Superman with the Red Bull. There's a bit of desync being incurred. Haas tries to take the place. Not sure what's gone on to Ronin there, but Ronin is gone. Ronin has spun and he's in the wall. And his race looks to have taken a dramatic turn for the worse right there. Unfortunate because he was in such an intense and enjoyable battle to watch. Perhaps went a millimetre too far, and that is the risk you take racing at this Spa track. He's fallen down to 14th place now, and still with a pit stop to make, of course. That has put a very negative complexion on the rest of his afternoon, safe to say. He's got a Sauber right behind him that could be shaping up a move as his tyres are definitely overheated after that. Running wide. Is there going to be a dive bomb presented? Yeah, there will, and there's contact, and the Red Bull is forced wide. Ronin maybe shut the door a bit on Polar Haze entering that chicane, but regardless, that's cost Ronin even more time. He's falling back further and further. Will probably want to be off those tyres soon. Talking of that, current race leader, but not effective race leader, Wout Damon, having yet to make a stop, is now entering the pits off his super soft tyres. Went and sold 7 laps on them, which is several more laps than we saw from other drivers this Grand Prix. Going on to mediums now, definitely to the end of the race. He seems to be the only driver pitting this lap, as everyone else has already made the call. The battling going on. This could be something to tune into. Sauber and Torosso, Molchian and Wow125, a name that I have not mentioned so far, but he's now making himself more relevant to myself, getting an overtake done, though it's safe to say Molchian did not put up the greatest defence, put up about as much defence as the Maginot line in World War II right there, as the clearly faster Wow125 takes the place with no other word said for now. I was waiting all day to say that analogy, as Medixie Thorobin has joined the race to perhaps join me in the commentary box. If Cozzie could invite him to the group chat, then that would be really appreciated, because I hardly want to alt tab in this Grand Prix. Cozzie, can you set that up or will I? No, we'll be right back. Technical difficulties. Okay, Hayden's joined the voice chat. No, he hasn't. Hello? Yes. Yeah. Give me a sec. People these days. Cozzie, do you know if your internet will be back in shape at any stage in the upcoming series? Or hopefully Hayden can join soon, because I don't like the idea of doing solo commentary the entire way through. But during that technical difficulties partition, if you will, Cordo's taken the place on Panda Cruise as well as claiming the fastest lap. Clearly got better tyres than the Force Indias now. Second Force India hoving into view, clearly struggling. Mantis Rectum, 8 lap old soft tyres, clearly got less grip than the Renault right now, and surely we'll be looking to get a move together very soon. Hayden, are you there? Giving back the stream.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Someone has left the session. Implumpus has left the session. You're seeing Coldo tuck right into the slipstream of Mantis Rectum. Is he going to try something into Blanchimont? That would be very, very ballsy if he did. He's going to try it, and he's going to make it work possibly. Ahead now into the bus stop. And there he goes. Still side by side. He's not backing out right now, but there he is. And the Force India bails. He bails into the pits. Not without a tap of the wall though. And Coldo retakes the lead in what was a very entertaining and risky move. Maybe could have waited. It would have been a more safe thing to do, but I'm joined in the commentary box by a different voice now.
Yep. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm hearing something from the chat that the stream is down. The stream is... If the stream is down, then it shouldn't be. Is it down?
Let's accommodate we can. I don't really know what's going on in this race. All I know is Panda Cruiser is right behind Swissman, and as far as I can see, the stream isn't done at the moment, so
Good.
I'm not really sure what's going on in the race at the moment. Panda Cruiser hasn't made a stop yet, that's why it's in P3. Yeah.
Okay, it seems that the issues being incurred are mainly to do with Discord, because you're having a bit of lag issues as well. It's tolerable, and hopefully it will repair itself in the upcoming stages, but sorry for these technical difficulties. Little we can do about it, and trust me, it doesn't make me feel any better about myself for my first time in this commentary box on the AOR channel. We've seen a yellow flag incurred in Sector 2, I believe for the spin of Ica in the, or Ico, perhaps, in the Haas. Come out of no name, difficult traction zone, and it's clearly bitten him there. Being bitten. Torso of Swiss Superman is plummeting down the order, seems to have had an issue. Coming onto the back straight, which is unfortunate for the context of his race. There's a mistake. Oh, that's... Not sure exactly what to say. I guess there was contact between the Mercedes and the Toro Rosso that led to a WCR Rick leading himself to give back the places, but or give places back to Swiss Superman that he lost from contact he may have had with him. Only explanation why he would have lifted off for that, but then we saw the Toro Rossos go side by side through the chicane, which was an intense moment indeed. But we're now seeing the race stabilise a bit now as we return to a bit more of a normal context. Of course, entering and exiting the pits now. Last lot of stops we'll see for a few laps, I presume, but now the Mercedes coming back at the Toro Rosso around the outside into the chicane, or is he clear? He's not going to be clear quite, but he's going to run wide and park the car on the apex, and it's lovely car placement from the Mercedes of WCR Rick to get the place made. But the Toro Rosso of Swiss Superman has lost out to his teammate and seems to be having some kind of issues with ghosting going on mid-corner there. Something's gone wrong for him pretty clearly. Also seems to be yellow flags. There's a lot going on. I think that's clear to see.
Yep. Yeah, Swiss Superman seems to be having a lot of problems at the moment, and he's in fact being caught on by Raining Thunder and the Ferrari at the moment. Also, Mulshane is catching WCR Rick as well, by the looks of things. He may be within DRS coming onto the main straight this lap. And he'll have the double dosage down the main straight and then up through Radion, well, not through Radion, at the top of Radion, down the Kemmel straight. As we see, he's in high energy mix at the moment, close 2 tenths so far down this straight, so he might be running lower wings than the car in front. Yeah, he's going to be...
Sorry to butt in, but there's very big action in the battle for 9th place as WOW tries something around the outside of Blanchimont. Other force involved as well. We've seen these two cars go to war earlier in this race as well. Mantis gets the move done on Panda Cruiser around the outside of that chicane, but that was another, not the first time this afternoon we've seen someone around the outside of Blanchimont. But WOW seems to have made it stick, but perhaps it's to his own demise now as we're coming on to another extensive slipstream zone, DRS straight, where the Force India is going to be looking to pounce on his vulnerable Sauber. Coming up through Rouge Radion, perilous as ever. But Rectum seems to have perhaps made a bit of a mistake through there, getting out the throttle a bit more than he'd have wanted to, and that's given WOW definitely some breathing room for this lap at least.
Yep. He's going to have to wait another lap now. As you said, actually, Mulshane has managed to get past Swiss Superman on that last lap as well. And yeah, as I said earlier, it's closing up to WCR Rick. And yeah, Mantis Rectum, is important to keep this lap clean and stay within that slipstream range, but also not make too many more mistakes and lose too much time, because he has got Panda Cruiser just outside that second range, and if he gets within, and he probably doesn't want that other Force India, his teammate, getting ahead of him, realistically.
I can say as a driver, the last thing you want to do in a race like this is be 1.1 seconds ahead of the car behind and then make a mistake that puts them in the DRS, and then it's so hard to get them out of that range. So that's certainly something for Mantis to be wary of, though he does look to be trying something on the Sauber in the upcoming laps, but he has dropped back to now 7 tenths behind, even on pressure tyres. That's something to look on. But talking of that, the two stoppers in this race, Heiko and Raining Thunder, as well as running an Oompa Loompas by the looks of it. That's in fact not supers, but they'll be looking to pit in the upcoming laps and drop out their current positions of 3rd and 7th. Be interesting to see them storm through the field on the fresher tyres in comparison to everyone else. But now Mantis closed up a bit more to the back of WoW in the perfect range for a slipstream, I guess. But will he get Arush Radion better than he did last lap? Almost definitely not. That's a massive catch there. Catch of the day. Well done. But unfortunately, catch of the day is not the award that Mantis is looking for. He wants the place on the Sauber and he's not going to get it this time around.
Yep, and at the same time in these races, it's not all about trying to race position. As we see, WoW125 has actually managed to pick up a penalty there, so that could be interesting on race position. But as I was about to say, in these evaluation races, it is more about race time and track position, well, less track position and more about race time. And picking up the least penalties possible is probably something you want to do, and also quite important not to have a collision, because if you have too many collisions in these races, you might not be getting a place in the main leagues.
Yeah, this race is as much about proving yourself. We could be seeing, it's an interesting prospect coming into an evaluation race and realizing you could be witnessing like the new league race. You could be watching the next Brendan Lee competing in their first competitive race. But I'm not sure if that's exactly what we're seeing today. But one thing we are seeing today is Heiko come into the pits for the 2nd time, presumably onto another set of soft tyres, and Raining Thunder joins him as they look to try and make their 2-stop strategies work, and that's definitely something to look out for, where they come out and what positions they can gain. But now we cast our minds back to the Sauber Force India duel that's been incurring over the last few laps, giving us the most entertainment of this race, I'd argue.
Yeah, sure. As you see, he's actually 8 tenths back this lap. It's going to be get it right. He's actually taken quite a big lift this time, coming down the straight now. So he's not really within any sort of passing range. In fact, he's lost a lot of time on that last lap. It's currently not going how he'd want it at the moment. As you see, he's losing the rear end through there as well, so maybe he's starting to have a couple of tyre issues. I'd be surprised, he's only been on the tyres for 4 laps. So maybe in this part of the race, he's just struggling a little bit and he'll be hoping to come back in a couple of laps' time.
Yeah, maybe he's got his tyres into an inappropriate temperature range. It could be something we're seeing. I've seen his rear end step out a lot of times in the last few laps as he attempts to overtake WoW, but WoW maybe has broken DRS now. Maybe that's something he can't get himself back into. However, around this point, we should be looking on the Red Bull of Heiko chasing down Citizen Eli. Now on those much fresher soft tyres, surely he's going to have a lot more pace than the Renault. Maybe he'll be another member of the round the outside of Blanchimont Club, which we've seen 2 people enter this race already. Maybe he's a bit far too back this time around, but he'll definitely try something, I believe, going into chicane at the end of the long straight that I always forget the name of, that maybe you can remember, Hayden. What's it called?
Camel Straight?
Yeah, after the Camel Straight, what's it called?
No clue.
Well, I guess we'll just be calling it that chicane at the end of the long straight for the rest of the race. But Red Bull definitely closed up a lot now on Citizen Eli through that chicane. So much more traction at the disposal of the fresher and less worn tyres. Move looking to be unfolding very soon, as we're also seeing a battle between the Mercedes and higher up the field. So I'd rather focus on this Red Bull Renault battle. As for now, watch this move unfold and then we can focus more on that. Maybe Eli getting out of the throttle a bit through Aruj Radion, but I think it's going to be a pretty textbook manoeuvre for the Red Bull.
Into Lecom.
Yeah, Lecom, that's the one. Gets it under brakes. Maybe forces the Renault a little bit wide, not as clean as he'd have wanted it to be, but he has got it done in the end. And of course, during that going on, we've seen the Mercedes in 2nd and 3rd place looking to go to the end, battling for the podium, of course, after the unfortunate loss of Zerd from this race. We saw them swap position and Falcon Felix dropping back now outside of the DRS. Perhaps he's having tyre temperature issues. But, I guess we're now waiting on Raining Thunder and Heiko to claim their next vulnerable victim, as they will surely have much better ultimate pace than any of the cars around them.
Yeah, surely Raining Thunder with the pace of his tyres and the amount he seems to be catching on the car in front, may even be looking for a move at some point next lap. He'll be looking to just gain as much time as possible and maximising his exit coming down this straight. As actually WCR Rick gets fastest lap, 10 laps into his stint on those mediums. I'm sure we'll see that beaten by the soft runners in a second, but yeah, I think Raining Thunder may actually be within the DRS straight, zone coming down this straight. Actually, no, I think he's just outside of it, unfortunately for him there, but he might get it on the next straight.
It seems like a bit more of a foregone conclusion that the Ferrari will take the place from the Haas, given the tyre advantage. However, he'll rather that be done sooner than later, as he seems to be on the cusp of the points potentially. In the last 7 laps of this Grand Prix, it's definitely flown by. I have only 7 laps left after what's been such an intense battle. But it is interesting to see how Rick taking the fastest lap ahead of Coldo, which was definitely a surprise. I would have expected more from the Renault. Perhaps, of course, he's got a 13-second lead and maybe is sitting on his cards a little bit more, sitting on his laurels. Riding board looks pretty conservative, pretty clean right now. Doing a bit of position changes. Ronin enters the pits for the 2nd time, I believe, in this Grand Prix. And another person, Mantis Rectum, joins the penalty club, of which there is a surprising number of people, I have to say, at Spa. I didn't think it was this easy to get a penalty, but drivers have been proving me wrong all afternoon today. But, Heiko now closing in on the Force Indias, and then inevitably the Sauber as well, I presume. But also Raining Thunder, actually, getting right onto the back of the Haas of Iko, and we could be seeing an overtake incur very shortly.
Yep, he'll be concentrating now. He's only 7 tenths back. I thought he may have had a chance to join part of around the outside of Bonchemont Club this lap, but he didn't quite make that. He made a small mistake through Buon, but now he'll just be lining it up and waiting for that DRS down the main straight and maximising his race time by making the easiest pass possible, I'm sure.
You see, that's what you do. That's what you do entering the Grand Prix. You think, how am I going to get the most efficient? But then you come to the actual battle and you change your mind. Nope, I want this position. I will defend it. Now I'll fight as valiantly and hard and do the best overtake I possibly can at sacrifice to whatever lap time, because that's just the mind of the racer. And presumably that's gone through Raining Thunder's mind and Iko's mind. They're going to want to put on a good show for us, hopefully, in the coming stage of this Grand Prix. I'm surprised Raining Thunder hasn't closed up more than he has. But, Eli getting a penalty through Radion there, and he's just ahead of this battle himself, so he could be falling victim to Iko, who's actually been closing him in quite substantially recently.
Yep, they all seem to be converging on each other, and interestingly, actually, Raining Thunder didn't manage to get the move done then. I thought it was pretty much sold and done then. And he might be finding it harder soon with Iko closing in on Eli, because the second he gets DRS, it's going to make it an awful lot harder for Raining Thunder to make an impression on him. And Heiko's now only 1.8 behind Panda Cruiser, so within the next 2 or 3 laps I'd expect him to be up into P9, and then possibly even looking at the back of Mantis Rectum before the end of this race.
We've got about 4.5–5 laps left to go of this Grand Prix, and although the top positions look pretty certain, with the current order being led by Coldo, followed by WCR Rick, Falcon Felix, Mulchian and Swiss Superman, but below that, who knows, with the soft runners charging through the field, and some pretty close action, I have to say. Raining Thunder now definitely close to Iko this lap, definitely more smooth driving has been helping him, but he wants to get the move on soon if he wants to look at Eli coming up. But, converging very much now in the last chicane. Slow section of the track as you're released now onto a slightly more high-speed straight before you enter another slow-speed corner, and then onto a majesty of high speed, the quintessential corner in Formula 1, Arouge Radion, and he'll be looking to get an overtake done in the Slipstream Fest to follow that. So now gap 6 tenths. That's probably the closest we've seen it in a long time, considering he's been struggling to get much closer than that, surprisingly. Perhaps we're going to ride on board now and see if he can get close enough. Does Iko gain DRS off of Eli? I don't think he does. And he seems to be going very, very slowly. Maybe he went down to conservative mix there, but he is definitely trying to defend the position there with running very wide, braking late, forcing the Ferrari almost off the track, and he's defending their position for now. I thought he'd have put up about as much defence as the Maginot line, with the state of his tyres, but clearly he wants to keep that position with just 4 laps to go, despite the fact this is an evaluation race. As we now see Heiko as well, making his way towards the Force India battle. Just 4 tenths behind Panda Cruiser now, but Raining Thunder is still one to watch, of course, as well.
And Ico's made a mistake. Raining Thunder is now into P12. I'm not sure what happened there, I just missed it. But that's him now into P12, and Ico well back. Yeah. And now it's all about that Heiko and Panda Cruiser battle.
Yeah. Surprising to see Ico made a mistake. He looked pretty solid. But Heiko sniffing the arse, if I do oh no!
Oh, no!
Oh, he's gone too far! There's been a horrendous crash there. Exiting Blanchimont. And this could fall them right down the order, both Heiko and the Force India of Panda Cruiser, I believe, coming to blows in the most criminal fashion possible. It's so easy when you have a speed advantage. You don't want to get the move done in Blanchimont. You're following the car behind. There seems to be a bit of light contact there, which has led to a dismal conclusion to their race now. Fallen a lot down the order. Yep.
And after that spin, that's probably pretty much going to be their races done with the tyre temps that they're now going to have. And that actually puts Citizen Eli up into P9 and puts Raining Thunder, after being behind quite a few of these cars last lap, now up into the points.
Synchronised overtakes from Raining Thunder and Ico. Down the back straight of Kemmel. And then into
Laycon.
Yeah, Heiko, what can I say? Disappointing to see his charge through the field kind of stunted through that, even if it was a spectacular crash. I think we'll all agree. But yeah, his progress through the Force Indias and potentially the Sauber kind of come to a close with that. So Heiko collect another penalty, so Heiko could finish ahead of him yet. But I guess we're going to see now if Raining Thunder is able to claw back some of the ground he lost earlier in the race battling. Eli ahead, close 2 tenths in that chicane alone, and is definitely looking like he wants Eli's 9th place.
Yeah, he's already within 9 tenths now, so he could be having a sniff at DRS. Eli on 13 lap old mediums, Raining Thunder only on 5 lap old softs. So it's safe to say that he has the tyre advantage at the moment and seems to have the pace advantage. He seems to have just fallen out of the DRS crossing the line there, so he might be getting, he definitely isn't getting it down the main straight. So he's going to have to wait. If he gets a good exit out of turn 1, he's going to be able to use it down the Kemmel straight. That was not too bad of an exit. He's now within that second range. So it'd be important this lap. He'll only really close up on Eli. He probably won't be looking at a move into Laycon. Well, he's actually only 7.5 tenths back, so he could be looking at a move, but he does still seem a little bit too far back. He'll be sitting behind, sizing him up for the rest of the lap and seeing where he might be able to make an overtake. And despite at this point in the race, with everything that's happened, I'm sure he'll still be thinking about his race time, trying to get it as low as possible on the 2-stop strategy.
One person who's certainly not thinking about his race time right now is Ico, who's gone very hard toward Heiko in the last few sectors of the race, perhaps even trying to get the move done back after being re-overtaken at the bus stop. Unfortunately, we couldn't tune into that right at the time when it was occurring. But race generally seems to have stabilised, but now it's also obviously time to look more with Raining Thunder. As he pursues Eli with just 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix, wants to get that move done very soon, I'm sure of it. But that's not going to help running wide, getting a poor exit, dropping out of the slipstream, falling to about 8 tenths, 9 tenths behind the Renault. Maybe he won't even be able to get the move done this lap, and maybe we'll have to wait for a last lap manoeuvre, which is always going to be an intense and not a situation you want to be in as a driver, but as a spectator, that's an interesting prospect for us to witness coming up.
It's always an interesting prospect. Last lap overtakes. He seems to have got relatively close through the chicane, but again losing the rear end there on the exit. Then that's dropped him all the way back to 9 tenths, and he's got all that work to do again, and that's only if he gets a good run through turn 1, which he seems to have finally got a good exit out of the corner, and he's now only 7 tenths back. So if he gets a good run up through Rouge and Radion, he may be looking at a move only 6 tenths back now. As you see, Eli actually just cuts the top of Radion there, probably struggling with his tyres now, 15 laps old. And he's in the DRS with the slipstream. He's turning the ERS down, so I don't think he quite wants to make a move at the moment, which is all the better for us as spectators, because we'll be waiting until towards the end of the lap, or even a last lap battle, which, as James said, are always entertaining.
Talking of battling, Ico is really not giving up this place to Heiko. You'd have thought with the tyre advantage despite temps, it would be a foregone conclusion, but the Red Bull and Haas are still dueling. Rich Energy, hashtag better than Red Bull, are going to be very entertained by what the Haas drivers have shown. Going into LACOM around the outside, move cemented, place done. But we're now seeing the position change from Thunder and Eli side by side. Eli's forced him wide through the chicane. Not really a multiple line corner, but they're making up multiple line corner. They do what they want here in this evaluation race. Approaching a ghosted Williams. Eli defends very robustly. And Raining Thunder's lost the rear end, and he's got the position to Panda Cruiser. It could have been in the wall there, just about saved it, but he has lost the positions now to the Force India. And that will certainly not be what he wanted. Trying to get a move done on Eli.
And Heiko's on the inside, passing Ico. And that was an easy move to make. However, that has put Ico back in the DRS and slipstream for this lap. And actually, Ico's having a look down the inside there. He's going to look for the cut back, and he's done that quite well. He's got a good exit, or maybe not. Spoke a bit too soon there, commentator's curse. It's alright, he can just sit behind into turn 1 here. Make sure he gets a good exit. He gets very close to the back of that Red Bull. And now he's going to sit in that slipstream down this straight, up for a Rouge Radion, and then down the Camel straight. Possibly looking for a move into Radion. We'll have to keep our eye on Panda Cruiser as well. He looks to be right close to Eli, but I don't think he's going to be making a move, so we're going to go straight back to Ico, who's on the inside of Heiko. Once again, not willing to give up that position. On the inside into LACOM. Heiko backing out sensibly there and giving the position to Ico.
Well, it seems like with the battles of the last few laps that this race would never come to an end. So much intense battling. We've not seen much action from the top 7 in these last few laps. However, it is going to be Coldo, who's fastest of them all here in Spa, takes his victory that I'm sure he's wanted a dominant one as well. Over 15 seconds clear in the end post penalties of the Mercedes now just entering the chicane. So perhaps it's time to tune on board back with the Ferrari battling for P10. Though we're going to see the finishing order come in very soon. Rick takes second officially there. Or does he? No, Falcon Felix has less penalties, but we see the Ferrari in the wall, spun it under traction, pushed a bit too hard, and that's the ultimate price to pay, pushing a little bit too hard. Raining Thunder plummeting down the order now, and that's very unfortunate for his race.
Yeah, and we've got Heiko, he's within that 3/10 range. He seems to be sensible, but he could have a lunge into this bus stop chicane. He's very close to Ico, defending the inside. And he is going to go for the lunge, pushing the Haas out the way. But the Haas doesn't give him an inch of space there. And it's going to be very close up to the line, touching rear ends. And that was incredibly close. And in fact, he gets the position on penalties in the end.
Shame it was decided by penalties, considering how much action their stern battling has provided in the last few laps. And definitely the most action we've seen from any pair of drivers dueling throughout this Grand Prix, but I guess the official results have come in now. Unfortunately, we couldn't focus on them much because there's so much battling going on in the lower midfield through the last few laps of that Grand Prix. Coldo wins from Felix, Rick, Mulchian, Superman finishing the top 5. Perhaps not the position he wanted, having started on a surprise pole position. From Wout Damon, Mantis, Panda Cruiser, WoW, and Eli finishing off the top 10. And first time for me, and I believe Hayden as well, starring on the AOR channel. I've hoped you've enjoyed that race as much as we have. That was some pretty intense battling, you have to say, as the podium ceremony is about to begin.
Yeah. For the race of its type, that was very intense battling. Yeah, and since James started the stream, I'll let him run through the final order.
Just watching the drivers on the podium now, always nice to see. Even in an evaluation race, which means very little. I'm pretty sure none of them are going to be shouting about this race for very long. However, still enjoyed the watch, and they can have their animated champagne. Mark seems to be in the ready for interview category. He'll be joining the call in a sec. Oh, hello, Mark. How was your race today? Pretty lonely in the later standards, I presume.
uneventful to say the least. No, but yeah, like could have been close if the guys behind wouldn't have crashed on their own.
Yeah, we noted in the early lap seeing Swiss Superman fall back from his surprising pole position down to 5th in the end, and of course Zerd's untimely loss from this Grand Prix. Unfortunately giving you very little rivals to fight during that race, but I guess you can still be happy with the result.
Yeah, I guess wasn't happy with quali and stuff like that overall. Some people going for late dives when being on the outlap, but yeah, was a nice race in the end. But yeah, I would have loved to fight the guys behind because I think we had quite similar pace. I think they only dropped back in the first laps because those two were fighting. Other than that, that should have been really close in the end.
Yeah, I have to say a surprisingly good show from the Mercedes in 2nd and 3rd. Seem to be quite similar lap times to the ones you were saying near the end of that Grand Prix. Do you reckon you'd have had some fun with them had they been closer in the final stint?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think when I think the guy behind set the fastest lap, and at this stage it was like 4 times quicker than mine. So I think they would definitely been in the mix there, and would have been fun to have them up there. But I don't know. I think they started a little bit further down the grid, so they first had to make their way up, and I think that cost them a lot.
So yeah, I guess this is about where we end off the stream. That's the last interview we'll be getting. I hope you all enjoyed the race. This is my first, well, technically second time ever attempting a commentary. First time on the AOR channel. Definitely not how I expected it to unfold. Changing commentators mid-session and experiencing some lag issues, unfortunately, which compromised the experience. But I hope that I've provided the best that I can of what was a pretty entertaining race, all things considered, at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I've enjoyed watching that race. Now, Hayden, do you want to tune out? Why not?
Okay, so yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for joining us in this stream. It was an exciting race, especially for an evaluation race. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned to the AOR channel for Season 17 up and coming on this F1 2018 game, and you'll see more like this.
Yeah, of course, this is just treated as a pre-season race for the upcoming AOR Hype Season 17. So I hope you tune in for that. It's been SMEAJ, Cozzie, and Hayden, as well as joined by Coldo right at the end there in the commentary box today. I hope you enjoyed the race. Goodbye.